Hello everybody, SuperFang99 here. So, previous video we just unboxed the Edge of the Earth campaign box, and to prepare for this new campaign, I'd figure I'd show off the decks that I'd be running through that campaign. So, the investigators that I've chosen are Lily and Monterey Jack, both from the Edge of the Earth themselves. And one, because Lily seems very interesting. Her deck building is very weird. Well, I mean, all of the deck building is weird, but specifically as to how it relates to these disciplines. And I'll get to why I chose this one in a second. But Lily is going to be our main fighter, of course. As well as later, she might be decent enough at evading that it could be pretty useful. Monterey Jack, of course, he is green, but he's truly yellow. This guy is going to be our main clover. Monterey is so freaking good, and I expect them to be especially good in this campaign, seeing as I've been hearing that the maps are pretty big. Okay, so let's go into first telling you about these investigators. So here's Lily Chen. She is the martial artist. She has 3 willpower, 2 intellect, 4 combat, and 3 agility. She is chosen and a warden. You begin the game with each discipline in your deck in play, unbroken side face up. Her elder sign is +2. After this test ends, flip a broken discipline you control to its unbroken side, and she has 7 health and 7 sanity. As with most investigators, her deck size is 30, and as she shares this trait with the rest of the Edge of the Earth investigators, she is a mystic that turns into a guardian. She starts with level 0 mystic cards and only up to 5 other guardian cards level 0. But she gets guardian cards level 1 to 5. And of course neutrals. Now here's the weird part for me, other than the fact that her deck building is already weird. She gets 1 burden of destiny for each discipline asset see below. Okay, sorry, that's her weaknesses, of course. And we'll get to those in a sec. First of all, she gets no firearm assets. That's obviously she's a martial artist, so she wouldn't take them. But it definitely worries me with the amount of weapons that I'm going to be able to get. And finally, here we go. Here's the discipline. At deck creation, choose a discipline asset to add to your deck. It is considered part of your deck building requirements. For every 15 experience you've earned in total, you may choose and add a different discipline asset to your deck. So, let's start with her discipline that I've chosen. I've decided to go with Prescience of Fate for the level 0 deck. It's permanent, and she gets +1 combat while it's on the unbroken side, of course. And as an action, we can get +5 skill value for the next skill test you perform this turn. After that skill test ends, flip this asset over, and it does not provoke attacks of opportunity. The broken side, of course, is that after this round ends, if you performed no skill test during this round, flip this asset over to its unbroken side. Relatively difficult to get this back to its unbroken side, but not impossible. She just takes a setup turn, playing some assets, moving around, etc. But for me, what really makes this the pick I want to take at level 0 is that +1 combat. It will take her to 5 combat base, which seems good. Now, I had debated as well as play tested with a different discipline, the willpower discipline that gives her +1 willpower. And I found myself really struggling to use that willpower effectively. Of course, except against treacheries and the like. I've as long as I could get my weapons out, basically the willpower discipline was semi-useless. I never really had to use her healing ability on it. And I felt like the combat discipline, plus the fact that I could just investigate or evade something out of nowhere for like 1 action, seemed pretty more useful to me than the other one. But we'll see if I come to regret this. Of course, because I only have 1 discipline, I only get 1 copy of Burden of Destiny, the weakness. And it says, Revelation, you must either flip a discipline you control to its broken side, it cannot flip back this round, or take a damage in a horror. Honestly, kind of a soft weakness. Really, the downside later on is because you can get up to 4 of these. So that's really the downside. Let's go over to Monterey now quickly. Let's talk about his Monterey is an investigator. He is Monterey Jack, the archaeologist. He has 1 willpower. He's a rogue, of course. 4 intellect, 2 combat, and 5 agility. And he's a wayfarer. As a reaction, at the end of your turn, if you started this round 1 location away from your current location, either gain a resource or draw a card. If you started this round 2 or more locations away, you do both instead. And his Elder Sign effect is +1. If you started this round 1 or more locations away from your current location, gain a resource or draw a card, and he has 8 health, 6 sanity. His Elder Sign, not too big, but it, succeeding on a test and drawing a card or gaining a resource seems pretty decent. However, this reaction is so freaking good. He can basically generate his own economy. It is great. All right, and he is very similar to Lily Chen in terms of deck building. He's a rogue that turns into Seeker. Rogue cards level 0, up to 5 other Seeker cards level 0, Seeker cards 1 to 5, and of course neutrals. And he gets his trusty bullwhip, whoopsh, and buried secrets. Oh, as well as a random basic weakness, which I'll get to in a sec. We're going to roll those live for you right here. All right, here is his trusty bullwhip. It is a 2-cost asset with 2 agility and a 1 wild icons. It is item, weapon, and melee traded. It is fast. That's actually pretty useful. And of course, it's Monterey Jack deck only. As an action, fight. This attack uses agility instead of combat. If this attack succeeds, you may exhaust Trusty Bullwhip to either automatically evade the attacked enemy or deal +1 damage with this attack. The +1 damage can be good if Monterey finds himself stuck against a 2 health enemy that has pretty high evade, for example. But what's even better, I think, is the automatically evading, because then Lily can just go buck wild on the enemy. Perhaps it has retaliate, perhaps it has a pretty high combat score. So that's pretty useful. His weakness is buried secrets. It's a mystery. Ooh, I wonder what's in that skull there, Monterey. Revelation, put it into play in your threat area. If your location can be investigated, you cannot move except by scenario card effects. And as an action, investigate. If you succeed, instead of discovering clues, discard buried secrets. If you fail, you may take 2 horror to shuffle it into your deck. This might be one of the softest weaknesses in the game. I think that, for me personally, Mark Harrigan's weakness becomes more soft more often. But this seems relatively soft. It's going to be an investigate, which he already likes doing. Obviously, he won't get clues for doing, but he should be pretty decent at doing with his 4 base intellect. And if you fail, you can just shuffle it back. Obviously, he only has 6 sanity, so taking 2 horror is not very useful. But if he has soak on the table, or if he has, if he's doing okay on horror, this might not be a bad idea to just get this out of here and shuffle into your deck. But you can really luck out on this. If you get a 2 shroud or 3 shroud location, you can probably get rid of this in 1 action. The difficulty obviously becomes if you get it on a higher shroud location, like 4 shroud or 5 shroud. With those types of things, that's what you really get. But that is the weakness of this card, but it's not too bad. Okay, so before we begin showing their decks, let's start with the cards that I actually have. I've been playing this game, not so long, but I've been playing it for a while, where I've played with lots of different cards. But this is really the first campaign that I've got, except for, of course, the revised core set, that I have in paper. And also, this is I'm only starting to get into the in-paper versions because of their new release format, the whole Investigator and Campaign expansion release format. And so my collection is very limited. In total, the collection consists of the revised core set, the Age of the Earth Investigator expansion, all 5 starter decks, and all of the return twos. Now I know what you might be thinking, but super vague. The return twos are useless to you. You don't actually have the campaigns to begin with, and you'd be right. But I figure since the return twos aren't going anywhere based on all the information we have, they're not going to be repackaged in the campaign expansions as far as we can tell. We might as well get them now, and they have some pretty nice player cards in them. Specifically, I don't understand. The Forgotten Age Return to expansion has a ton of really good cards. Chthonian Stone 3 Survival Knife 2, those the Dunwich one has Bandolier 2. That's going to be so good for Lily. I figured I might as well just pick them up. And they're on sale for Black Friday. So those are the cards that I do have, the player cards at least. So let's go through these decks. Let's start with Lily. Lily's main weapon is going to be Dragon Pole. Now, obviously, there are ways to go this around, without going Dragon Pole Lily, but I figured, well, I didn't figure. This was kind of the only weapons that I had in my collection. And they're kind of made for her. Reading it, you have an additional arcane slot. It's a 3-cost asset, mystic asset with 1 fight icon, by the way, and it's an item, weapon, and melee traded. It takes up both hands, and as an action, you can fight. You get +1 combat for this attack for each of your arcane slots that is filled. If at least 2 of your arcane slots are filled, this attack deals +1 damage. So, to fill out those arcane slots, we have good old-fashioned Shriveling, Azure Flame, Scrying. I know what you're saying, this is a terrible card, and it is, but it's cheap. And Talisman of Protection. Not only is this cheap, but it's also fast. And if she has one already, and she doesn't have any more arcane slots, she can give one to Monterey Jack in case he's taking too much horror. Honestly, I think that this card seems pretty good. Well, specifically in the Dragon Pole Lily deck. So those are the main ways that we can fill our arcane slots. I was thinking about taking Meditative Trance, but then I realized that that's probably a bad idea since it's a bad card. But who knows? Maybe we'll need more healing later on. And, well, I guess if we really need to, I could spend some XP getting it. But that seems a little bit poor. Anyway, you might be thinking, Shriveling and Azure Flame. Not so good with Lily only having 3 willpower. So let's take some Holy Rosaries, just in case we need to use them. And if we need to find our spells, Arcane Initiate is the best way we can do that. Also, she has 2 Horror Soak, which is pretty good. All right, here are some events. Let's start with Drawn to the Flame. This is something that she can do when she has no enemies and needs to get some clues. Very, very good card, especially in the core set. And of course, she wouldn't be a mystic without Water Protection. Lastly, she has 1 copy, right? Yes, she has 1 copy of Fearless. I imagine that I'll probably be needing to do some willpower checks. And Fearless just seems a pretty efficient card, especially if I have Shrivelings. And if I need to heal horror at any point, Fearless will be good for that. All right, let's get into the 5 level 0 Guardian cards that I took. I took 2 copies of Machete, 2 copies of Stand Together, and 1 copy of Vicious Blow. First of all, we're not playing Taboo because I have, like, not a full collection. So Machete is really the only other viable weapon that I can take other than Knife, I guess. And I guess... No, I don't have Enchanted Blade, I don't even have Survival Knife, I do have Sledgehammer, but I'm not going to take Sledgehammer with Lily. Obviously, Machete, very good card. It'll be a way for us to get weapons in case we don't get the Dragon Pole, basically. Next up, we got 2 Stand Togethers. In my playtest of this deck, it was a little bit different when I playtested it. Economy was a real problem. So, Stand Together, great economy, especially in 2-player. We'll see how this goes. 1 copy of Vicious Blow. Now you might be asking, there is a level 2 Vicious Blow. Why are you taking the level 0 one, wasting your level 1 of your 5 slots? Well, the level 2 one is in the Dunwich Legacy expansion, and I don't have that. So we're going to take this. Obviously, Vicious Blow, very good card. Lastly, with the neutrals, we're going to take 2 emergency caches. As I said before, economy, very important. 2 Guts, in case we need to activate some of our spells, and also just, Guts is a good card against the Mythos. And 2 Overpowers, of course. Having skills of things you want to do sounds good. So that's Lily's deck. This Lily's deck is the one that I'm the most worried about, if you're wondering, just because her level 0 is very awkward with having to go so deep into Dragon Pole, as well as the fact that I don't have a lot of good ways to find the Dragon Pole. For example, Prepared for the Worst in Dunwich, I don't have that card. Backpack, it's in Forgotten Age. I don't have that card. I do have the upgraded backpack, but you know, that's level 0. Maybe I'll take that. So that's Lily's deck. She's our fighter, of course. All right, let's move on to Monterey. Monterey is our cluver, and the best way that we can do clues is with big numbers. Lockpicks time. Now, the thing about Monterey is Monterey would be busted if he could take level 1 lockpicks. That would be so freaking good. So we'll have to make do with level 0 lockpicks. Obviously, if I get these to break, I'll be very sad. But we'll see. Our ally, our main ally, is going to be Leo DeLuca. More action seems good. Also, I don't have a lot of better allies, save for one, which I'll get to in a sec. Next, we got the Lucky Cigarette Case. Combos well with the lockpick, succeeding by a lot. Should hopefully draw us lots of cards. All right, now we're getting to our event package. We got Pilfer. Very expensive, of course, but Monterey can generate his own resources by moving a lot. And 3 clues. Seems pretty good, especially for those 2 per player, 3 per player, or more locations. Obviously not so good for 1 per player locations. We got Backstab, just in case he needs to fight. This is the only fighting card, well, of course, except for the Bullwhip, that's in his deck. I figured since he is 5 foot, he can take pretty good advantage of this. This might be one of the first cards that I cut as I go further into his game plan. But we'll see. Backstab is a good card. And we have Slip Away. Slip Away, obviously a very good card for him. It makes his evade at a base 9, which should be even higher. And Slip Aways are very good at getting rid of a problem for a very long time. All right, we got Elusive. As I said, this is non-taboo, so this is the very, very good Elusive, where I can just go to any revealed location with no enemies. Seems really good. And it's fast. We also have Scout Ahead. You might be wondering, why are you taking so many movement abilities? Well, it's Edge of the Earth. I imagine there's going to be a lot of moving, seeing as how we have huge maps. So, moving up to 3 times without enemies engaging you until the very end seems really good. He could just psych all the way across the map. Seems good. And of course, actually, I think about it, Scout Ahead also has very good icons. 2 agility, very good. Especially for Pilfer and Backstab. All right, we got 2 Nimbles. Very similar reason. I could commit Scout Ahead to a Nimble and effectively move twice for free. Oh, seems very good. All right, here we go into the Seeker cards. So the 5 Seeker cards that I have is 1 copy of Jeremiah Kirby. 1 copy, well, the only copy, of Archive of Conduits. 2 Deductions, and 1 Research Librarian. So first of all, let's start with Jeremiah Kirby. Other than Dr. Mylan Christopher, he is the best Seeker ally, in my opinion. Other than Dr. Mylan, of course. And of course, I'm playing Untaboo, so I could play him. But I figured that Jeremiah Kirby seems pretty good also. He's a 4-cost asset with 1 book commit, and he gives you 1 intellect to begin with. And after he enters play, you choose even or odd. Reveal the top 5 cards of your deck, draw each card with the cost that matches that chosen option, and shuffle the remaining cards into your deck. So Jeremiah is very good because most of this deck is even costed cards. I believe the only odd costed cards are Backstab and Lockpicks. Oh, and Scout Ahead, of course. And then obviously there's a bunch of null costed cards with the skill cards. But most of them are even costed. So I figure that Jeremiah will be pretty useful in getting those. Next is the Archive of Conduits, mainly just because I wanted to try it out. It is, of these new investigators, Monterey is the only investigator that can take the Seeker untranslated or unidentified cards. Because, you know, Norman is a Seeker, of course, but he doesn't get higher level Seeker cards, so he won't be able to upgrade them. Monterey, of course, will also be able to get the Ancient Stone, which could be pretty useful since there's the one that moves. No. I don't actually know. Oh, that's right. I don't have Ancient Stone. I don't have the base level 1. Damn it. It's hard to, you know, play with paper after playing online for so much. But Archive of Conduits is the one that I do have. So we're gonna try this out. I'm really excited for the one that moves people around. Seems really good. What can you go wrong with 2 deductions? Obviously, if I had the Dunwich Legacy expansion, I would save these to get the higher level deductions, but here we are. And a 1 of Research Librarian. First of all, the Archive of Conduits, at least its level 0 version, is a tome, so he'll be able to get that. But Research Librarian has a much more important purpose, and that is, of course, to get the Prophesia Profana, the one card that I'm going to for sure put in this Monterey Jack deck. It is so freaking good for him, and in fact, for anyone. But yeah, we'll be talking about upgrades in just a bit. All right, and the neutral cards. 2 emergency caches. He still needs some economy, especially if he needs to be playing Pilfer, Lockpicks, and Leo DeLuca. So 3 resources, pretty good. 2 perceptions. 2 manual dexterities. And 1 unexpected courage. This card mainly is for willpower tests. So I'll be hopefully not having to commit it to to other things. But hopefully this can get me out of some willpower tests, because I don't have cards like You Handled This One. That would be really good in Monterey Jack. All right, so that is both of their decks. Let's quickly talk about upgrades. I don't have their upgrade cards on me just yet, but I have a general plan for how I want to upgrade them. Let's first start with Lily. Really, Lily, the only 2 ways you can go with Lily, at least, with the cards that I have, is the Butterfly Swords or the Almighty Cyclopean Hammer. And, well, I'm going Cyclopean Hammer. That's just where I'm going. The plan, eventually, is to get Cyclopean Hammer, Bandolier level 2, and Survival Knife. Because you can have the Cyclopean Hammer as your main weapon, and then have the level 2 Survival Knives being able to kill and deal damage during the enemy phase without taking any more damage. Seems good. And obviously, the Bandolier gives her more willpower, which will then help her with the Cyclopean Hammer. Seems like a great idea. Other than that, some other nice to haves are going to be something like Beat Cop level 2. What else? I really hadn't thought this far ahead. Let's stick with that. And then I'll put a pin on what else I want to get later on. As for Monterey Jack, as I said before, his big thing is the Prophesia Profana. He has some tech in order to get it. For the Prophesia, I believe, is a 4-costed asset, which is even. So Jeremiah could get it. Research Librarian obviously can get it. Other than that, I believe that I am planning to switch out Leo DeLuca eventually for Genet Beauregard, because Genet is also freaking good. Really, with Monterey, you just got to get those cards, and they get really good secret cards, which there are a lot of. So, for example, getting the new hiking boots seems really good. Let's see, what else? What other? I don't know, Cryptic Research. That seems like a good card to get. I could dip into Logical Reasoning 3, 4. I forgot how much XP that costs. But that'd be pretty useful for Monterey Jack, because not only does he have low sanity, so he'll be able to heal things, but a lot of the terrors, like, for example, Frozen in Fear, are very hard for Monterey Jack to get rid of because of his low willpower, and most terrors make you test willpower. And lastly, for Lily, I forgot to mention this. The plan for me is to start with the combat discipline, and then either switch to the willpower or the agility discipline, depending on how I'm going. If I already have enough XP, or I have like both Cyclopean Hammers and things like that, I'll go with the willpower one, and then eventually go to the agility one. Obviously, the intellect one comes last. That seems like pretty much everyone's in agreement about that. Well, those are these 2 decks. The last thing I need to do is generate weaknesses. So here's my handy dandy notebook full of investigators and weaknesses. All right, so the way that I'm going to do this is, I forgot to get a die, but let me finish explaining what I'm going to do. I'm going to roll a die between 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. Well, I don't have a 30-sided die, so let me go get a D100. I'll be right back. All right, I am back. Have your little D100 right here. The reason I'm doing it this way is because if I just shuffle them all together and chose from there, the ones that have multiple copies are going to be weighted towards them more strongly, which, I think is technically the way you're supposed to do it, but I like the fact of having, more chance to get a more varied amount, or a diversity of these weaknesses, if you will. So I'm going to roll until I get a number between 1 and 25. This may take a while. 73. Nope. Okay, let's roll this first. I'm gonna go for between this is a 0, right? Yeah, 0, 1, or 2. I need to make sure I get that first. 0, okay. And the one I'm gonna get is number 2, paranoia. Wait. Oh, this does have a 0 on it. Okay, we're gonna start at 0 then. 0, 1, 2. So that is haunted, and that will be for Lily. So I'll get that in a second. The next one is going to be 8, 1, so 10, 19, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Monterey is going to be damned. That's not good. If you don't know this card already, it's the new weakness, or one of the new weaknesses from Return to the Circle Undone. And it involves the tarot deck. So I guess I'll be getting that out. And let me get Haunted for Lily. Haunted seems not terrible, as it could definitely be worse. All right, well, that's the end of this video. If you enjoyed it, please like and comment and subscribe if you would like. And I'll see you next time, hopefully soon, for the campaign itself. This is SuperFing99 signing out.